Marriage is built on honesty, right? That's what everyone says. Share everything with your spouse. No secrets. Well, I believed that too, until I told my husband the most embarrassing story of my life. And he reacted in a way I never expected. It started on a slow Sunday morning. We were lounging in bed, half watching some documentary about awkward childhood moments, when I casually said, "I have a story that could top all of this." He turned to me, curious. "Really? Let's hear it." I hesitated. It was one of those stories that lived in the back drawer of my brain, sealed with mental duct tape, labeled, "Do not open." But for some reason, maybe the comfort of the morning, or the fact that we'd been married for almost 4 years, I thought, why not? So I told him. It happened when I was 17. I had a huge crush on a guy named Ryan, senior year, tall, sarcastic, had that floppy hair that everyone was into at the time. Anyway, I was desperate to impress him, and heard through friends that he was really into girls who played guitar. I didn't play guitar, but my older cousin did, and she had a sparkly pink one that she barely used. So I borrowed it, taught myself 3 chords from a YouTube video, and practiced a painfully awkward version of Wonderwall. And here's where it gets humiliating. I showed up to this casual house party where Ryan would be, wearing my cousin's too-tight leather jacket, and carrying that pink guitar like I was on tour. I made my way to the kitchen, where Ryan and a few others were chilling, and without warning, I just started playing. Yes, in the middle of the room. Out of nowhere. Just, "Hey Ryan, listen to this." And I played. Badly. My voice cracked, my fingers fumbled the chords, and halfway through the song, the guitar strap snapped off my shoulder and the whole instrument crashed to the floor. The room went dead silent. Then someone, I still don't know who, clapped. One single, sarcastic clap. I wanted the earth to open and swallow me whole. Ryan didn't laugh. He just stared. Someone said, "Cool," and walked away. I ended the story, face burning from just retelling it, and looked over at my husband. I expected a chuckle, maybe some comforting teasing, or even just a "you were brave for trying." But instead, he just blinked. Then he burst out laughing. Not just a little giggle, he was wheezing. Tears in his eyes, can't breathe, doubled over laughing. I tried to laugh with him at first, but something felt off. It wasn't with me. It was at me. "You seriously did that? Oh my God. That's actually painful," he gasped between laughs. "Were you trying to serenade him or something?" "Babe. That's so cringe, I don't even know what to say." That's when it hit me. He wasn't going to let this go. And the look in his eyes, it wasn't just amusement. It was judgment. That night, as I was brushing my teeth, I could still hear him chuckling in the other room. It had been hours since I told him the story, and he was still laughing about it. At first, I tried to be a good sport. Yeah, it was embarrassing. I knew that. I told it because it was embarrassing. But I expected it to stay between us. A sweet, private kind of cringe. I didn't expect him to bring it up at dinner with his brother the next night. "You've got to hear this," he said, grinning ear to ear. "Back in high school, my wife serenaded a guy at a party with Wonderwall on a pink guitar." He laughed like it was the best thing he'd ever heard. His brother laughed too. I smiled tightly, hiding my discomfort behind a sip of wine. Later that night I said, "Hey, maybe don't tell other people that story. It was kind of personal." He looked surprised. "Come on, it's funny. It's just a joke." I nodded. "I get that, but it's also kind of sensitive for me." That moment haunted me for years. He didn't apologize. He just said, "Geez, all right. Didn't realize you were still that insecure about it." That stung. Over the next few days, the joke kept coming up. Anytime we had friends over, anytime music was playing, he'd throw in a quick jab. "Careful, or my wife might break out her pink guitar." "Hey babe, still remember those 3 chords?" Even small things, like when we were watching a movie and a character embarrassed themselves, he'd lean over and whisper, "You two would get along." I started to avoid conversations where it might come up. I felt on edge around him. Not because I couldn't laugh at myself, I can, but because it felt like he didn't know where the line was. Or worse, that he didn't care. Then came the breaking point. We went to a small get-together at a friend's house. It was mostly couples, everyone joking, catching up, sharing drinks. Someone brought out a guitar. Of course, one of the guys started strumming, and my husband suddenly turned to the group and said, "You know, my wife once tried to win over a guy at a party by playing Wonderwall, horribly, on a pink glitter guitar." He said it in front of everyone. Loud. Proud. Like it was a party trick. I froze. Everyone laughed. I felt my face flush, not from embarrassment, but from anger. I excused myself and went to the bathroom, hands trembling. Why did he keep doing this? Why was he turning my worst memory into his favorite anecdote? And most of all, why did I feel like the joke was no longer the story, but me? The ride home that night was silent, until it wasn't. I stared out the window, arms crossed, jaw tight. My husband must have sensed something, because halfway down our street, he finally spoke. "All right, you're mad. What did I do this time?" I turned to him slowly. "You really don't know? Because I told the story again? It's funny. You used to laugh at it." I blinked. "No. I laughed with you once in private. Not with a room full of strangers. You've turned it into a joke. I'm the punchline." He sighed, pulling into the driveway. "You're overreacting." That word. Overreacting. It snapped something in me. Do you know why that story stuck with me? Because that guy, the one I sang to, he laughed at me. And not kindly. I was humiliated. I left that party and cried in the bathroom for 30 minutes while people mocked me. And now, years later, my own husband is making me relive that humiliation. Publicly. For fun. There was a long pause. He didn't meet my eyes. Instead, he reached for his keys, got out of the car, and mumbled, "You're being dramatic." I didn't follow him inside right away. I sat in the car, heart pounding, eyes burning. Over the next few days, we barely spoke. He avoided the topic entirely, acted like nothing had happened. But I couldn't let it go. I started thinking. If this was how he reacted to a boundary, a simple request to not make fun of me in front of people, what did that say about him? Or worse, about us? I talked to my sister about it over coffee. She was always the voice of reason. "Sounds like he's not hearing you," she said. "Or choosing not to. Either way, it's not great." "It's like he sees me as content," I said quietly. "Like I'm material for his next joke. Not a person with real feelings." Things boiled over a week later. We had dinner with a few friends. No guitars this time, thank God. But still. The teasing continued. "Don't give her the AUX," he said when someone handed me the music. "Unless you want a live performance." Laughter. Again. I stood up. "I'm going home." He looked up, startled. "Come on, don't be so sensitive." But I was already walking out the door. That night, I slept on the couch. He didn't try to talk to me. Didn't even ask why I left. The silence between us was no longer passive. It was loud. And for the first time since we got married, I genuinely wondered, did I marry someone who respected me? Or just someone who enjoyed mocking me? The next morning, I packed an overnight bag. He was in the kitchen, scrolling through his phone, acting like everything was normal, like he hadn't humiliated me twice in front of his friends and dismissed my feelings like they were trivial. "I'm staying at my sister's for a couple of nights." He looked up. "Wait, what? Why?" I stood by the door, holding my bag. "Because I'm tired of not being heard. I'm tired of being laughed at. And I'm tired of you brushing it off like it's nothing." "It is nothing, babe. I was just kidding. Why are you blowing this up?" "Stop calling me babe, like it makes everything okay," I snapped. "It's not nothing when I've told you twice how it makes me feel, and you keep doing it." He got up, raising his hands. Okay. You want an apology? Fine. I'm sorry. There. Happy. I just stared at him. "That's not an apology," I said. "That's a guilt trip in disguise." "What do you want from me?" "Respect," I said. "And for you to take me seriously." At my sister's house, I cried in the spare room. Not just because of him, but because I didn't recognize who we'd become. I wasn't perfect. I could be sensitive, sure. But this wasn't about thin skin. It was about feeling like my feelings didn't matter in my own marriage. My sister brought me tea and sat beside me. When you were dating, she asked, did he do this kind of thing? No, I whispered. He used to listen. He used to defend me. Then something changed. And you need to figure out whether it's something temporary or who he really is when he thinks you won't leave. That question haunted me all night. The next day he texted, are you done being mad yet? That was it. No call. No genuine apology. Just that. And something in me just clicked. I didn't reply. Instead, I opened my laptop and began writing everything down. Every time he'd made me the joke, dismissed my discomfort, or talked over me when I tried to set a boundary. It was a long list. Longer than I expected. 2 days later, I returned home. Not to forgive him, but to talk clearly and with finality. He was watching TV when I came in. He barely looked up. Back so soon? We need to talk, I said. Oh, here we go again. I didn't sit down. I stood firm. This is your final warning, I said. If you ever use that story again or any story about me to humiliate me, we're done. No jokes. No excuses. No calling me dramatic or sensitive. I've explained myself more than enough. He turned off the TV slowly. You're really this upset? No. I'm hurt. And I won't let someone I love be the one who makes me feel small. He was quiet for a long time. Okay, he said finally. Okay, I get it. But did he? That night, we didn't speak much. And I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted, maybe permanently. A week passed. Things were polite. That's the best word I can find. He wasn't cracking jokes at my expense anymore, but he also wasn't trying. He didn't ask how my day was, didn't sit next to me on the couch, didn't kiss me goodnight. We were like roommates, cold, careful ones. I kept wondering, was he silently punishing me for standing up for myself? Then came the real punch in the gut. I was using his laptop to check a delivery status. We shared devices often, no big deal. But when I typed the website name into the browser, the autofill suggested, my wife is too sensitive. Reddit. I froze. Out of curiosity, or maybe self-torture, I clicked. It wasn't Reddit though. It was a relationship advice forum. And there it was, a post from a throwaway account titled, my wife told a super cringe story and got mad when I laughed. Now she's being dramatic. Am I in the wrong? I didn't want to assume. But the details were identical. My age, his age, the friend's name, even the story. And in the comments, your wife sounds exhausting. You dodged a bullet not marrying her sooner. Let her cool off. She'll come crawling back. Cringe story or not, she seems insecure. And the worst part? He was replying to the comments, agreeing, laughing with strangers, mocking me under the guise of seeking advice. My hands were shaking. I wasn't just embarrassed now. I was betrayed. When I confronted him, I held nothing back. You went online and posted about me like I'm some punchline for internet strangers? He had the audacity to look annoyed. It's anonymous. You're overreacting. Again. It's not anonymous when it's our life. I just needed perspective. Perspective? Or validation for humiliating your wife? He rolled his eyes and walked away. I stood there, stunned. Not because of the fight, but because for the first time in our relationship, I realized something terrifying. He didn't respect me. And without respect, what were we even doing? That night, I slept in the guest room. He didn't check on me. Didn't ask if I was okay. Didn't care. I stared at the ceiling until 4 a.m., trying to piece together how we got here, from the couple who laughed over burnt pancakes, to this cold silence, where I wasn't a partner, but a nuisance. And yet, a part of me still hoped, still clung to the memory of who we used to be. But what if that version was gone, or worse, never real? The next morning, I packed again. Not just an overnight bag this time. My clothes. My books. My favorite coffee mug, the one he always teased me for keeping. He came out of the bedroom rubbing his eyes. What are you doing? I'm leaving. He blinked. For how long? I don't know. Maybe forever. Wait. You're serious? You don't listen. You don't respect me. You don't care when you hurt me. And now you've mocked me to strangers online, like I'm some joke you're stuck with. He scoffed. So that's it? You're throwing away our marriage because of one little joke? No, I said. I'm walking away because you still think it was just one joke. I closed the suitcase. The truth is, you lost me the moment you laughed with them instead of fighting for me. My sister picked me up that afternoon. I moved in with her temporarily. At first, it was hard. I cried a lot. But slowly, I started reclaiming myself. I started journaling, cooking meals just for me, reconnecting with friends I had distanced myself from during the marriage. And a few weeks later, something wild happened. I reread the story I had shared with him, the cringe story. This time I laughed. Not because it was humiliating, but because it was real. Awkward, yes, but authentic. Mine. It was never about the story. It was about being able to share something vulnerable, and having the person you love hold that vulnerability gently. He never did. He texted a few times. Nothing dramatic. No grand apologies. Just little things. Hope you're okay. Still got your charger. The house feels weird without you. But I never replied, because I wasn't the same woman anymore. And he wasn't the man I wanted to come home to. Months later, I shared my story again, this time, anonymously on Reddit. The response? Hundreds of people saying, "You did the right thing. You deserve better. He never deserved your softness." And maybe they were right. Because now I live in a little apartment filled with plants, warmth, and peace. And the next time I tell a story, awkward or not, I'll make sure I share it with someone who listens, not laughs. Because love isn't perfect. But it never makes you feel small for being honest.